to work in. So try and find a company that has that same cultural fit as you, and then you can kind of test drive that company. And then you realize, yeah, I really like this organization. They think the way I think. We're kind of simpatico. Or you might go, ooh, don't like these people very much. Cross them off the list when it comes time for job hunting. So I think the internship was probably a lot more important than it is now, because so many people are deciding to stick around for their degree. So because it's sort of like an outplacement. So it's a great way to get a job is through the practicum or the internship. So you want to make sure you're spending a good amount of time finding a good one, and I would interview a couple of people. So I wouldn't just take the first one that's offered, because again, it's a situation where people who've done them in the past, they tend to come back every year wanting to do another student, but you want to make sure that it's a good fit for you, and that you could view it potentially as, I might be working in this company, because there are a ton of people who get jobs through their internship. So it's a sort of a wasted opportunity, just like directed studies, if you don't use it well, because a lot of times the employers are doing these because they're thinking of hiring you as well, and it's low risk for them. It's like, oh, I can try this person out for 10 weeks, and if I don't like them, I can throw them back. So you want to make sure that you're investing some good thought time in why you're choosing to do it at that particular company versus another company, as opposed to just like, oh yeah, I got to hand this form in next week, I better think of somebody quick.
Do you have any data on employment after taking such internships? Approximate.
I would say that last year was a bad year because of the economy was so bad last year, but I would say traditionally about a third of the people are offered jobs from their practicum or their internship. And then you probably have about 10 or 15% of people are offered jobs from their directed studies clients. So it's not uncommon that strong students will get a job offer from their practicum and from their directed studies. And again, it's so much easier if you're doing it in an area that you're interested in, because it's, as opposed to some kind of nebulous organization, kind of go like, oh, I'm not really interested in key punch technology firm, but I'm really interested in somebody who's doing salmon enhancement or whatever it is that sort of turns your crank. So I think it's really important to because there's lots of students who don't know what they're interested in. So if you know what you're interested in, then they'll come and work for you, right? So you're excited by it. It's like, oh, come on, this project will be really fun. And then you're doing a project that you love to do, and you'll be really committed and do a good job. And that's how a lot of businesses start, because you need to have passion. I think that's key number one in business. You got to have passion about whatever you're doing, whether you're an accountant or whether you're a marketer. You have to have passion for the area.
That's probably your key message for our
passion. Yeah. And if you don't have it, find it. Okay, go out and find it during the summer, because really, really important. I think that's the number one key to success.
Is there any specific successful stories that you heard from students that graduated from this BCIT?
Yeah, there's so many of them.
The best one.
The best one. Well, it depends though what each person wants. Like, I think the most successful graduates are the ones who are doing what they want to be doing, and it's different for each one of us, right? So we all have different paths to walk down and follow, and it depends what we're interested in. So for some people, it's more school. Like, a lot of people love school. So we've had a student. Well, classic example is, so student in second year starts their internship or their practicum, and then they stay on with that company. So there was a woman a few years ago who got a job after her practicum, the same organization, and ended up becoming the director of sales and marketing of this organization. So it's like a visitor's guide for tourists coming into Vancouver, sort of like you get in the hotel rooms. And so she was doing that. And then she moved on and is working with the provincial government and the education system on promoting all the different tourism programs in the province. Went back to Royal Roads, got her master's in tourism, and is now starting to wanting to teach tourism. And then you've got people who, there's a fellow a few years ago who his passion is beer, and so he's written a beer guide to all the different beers in British Columbia. And so it's sort of like an entertainment book, but to beer, called Passport to Beer. And so you can buy this book and you go around to the different pubs that brew their own beers, and it has like a write-up about it, and there's coupons and special offers. And so, which is really neat, where he's become an entrepreneur in the area of the industry that he really loved. Fellow who a few years ago graduated and is really into sports marketing, and so that was really what he wanted to get involved with. And so he wanted a job at the Vancouver Canucks. That was like the ultimate dream job. Didn't get his job at the Canucks, but he got a job working at Kidsport BC in promoting kids programs and sport programs. So he got to work with Marcus Naslin and different sort of high-profile sports celebrities to get them to donate money and to be at different events. And so he'd create all the marketing events. And then now he's working in sports marketing with Tourism Burnaby, bringing World Police and Fire Games to Burnaby, all that kind of stuff, working with 2010, people working with 2010. So I think the success stories are people who are doing what they want to be doing. We've got people who, past graduates of the program who are very successful entrepreneurs who own multi-million-dollar corporations, and we've got people who are, working overseas. So it's really, it's people running hotels. So the general manager of the Jasper Park Lodge is a graduate of the program, and she's loving every minute of her career because that's what she wanted to be doing. And then somebody else starting up a tourism business, an event management company. So there's a big event management company in town called Rare Indigo, and a graduate actually, I think, of the communications option. So a lot of times what happens is that people's perception sometimes is, oh, tourism is kind of low paying and not that exciting, and then they start working and they realize, wow, this is really quite an interesting industry, and they come into it. So there's quite a lot of people from other options who end up working in tourism as well, but at the time at school they don't perceive that they're interested in tourism. And that's just the way it is. I mean, a lot of times we're making you pick what you're going to do with your life, and it's like, I don't know, you're still young, there's lots of options.
Nice. Is there anything left? Or?
What is the highest grossing facet of Vancouver's tourism industry?
Well, in British Columbia, it's adventure tourism is probably the fastest growing area, and it's also sort of one of the newest. So in adventure tourism could be things like, there's a company in North Vancouver called Rocky Mountain Motorcycle Holidays. I like motorcycles. And so they take tourists, predominantly British tourists, through the Rocky Mountains on motorcycles. So they pick them up in Vancouver and take them up to Whistler, go to Jasper, go down to Banff, they'll go down into the States, come back up. That'd be an example of an adventure tourism company. Or it could be backcountry skiing, or a heli hiking or heli skiing operation, something like that. So those right now seem to be the fastest growing ones. The meetings and conventions are quite big as well. We've just got a huge new convention center in Vancouver, and we've got this little special event coming up in a few weeks called the Winter Games. And what's going to happen is, meeting and event planners all over the world, along with 2 billion people, are going to see how beautiful Vancouver is, and they're going to start streaming into Vancouver. So, I think the meetings and events industry is a huge growing area. Destination marketing is also a growing area. It's quite specialized, where it's focused on, we talked a little bit earlier about it, getting people interested in your destination and finding out why do people travel. So it's like, trying to get inside the consumers' heads on why are they coming to Whistler as opposed to Aspen or Vail or someplace in Switzerland or France. So it can be quite interesting from a marketing perspective why people are choosing our destinations over other destinations, or why aren't they choosing our destinations? Why did you choose to go to Vail and not to Whistler? So adventure tourism is a growing area. Meetings and conventions will be a growing area. Food and beverage is also a really fast growing area. A lot of entrepreneurs operating in food and beverage. If you think of British Columbia, the number of restaurant chains that have started here, so Red Robin, Cactus Club, I think Earl's was sort of co-started in Vancouver and also in Edmonton at the same time. So, multi-million-dollar corporation. So food and beverage is also a big, like new bars and like Vancouver needs new bars. So there we need some tourism entrepreneurs to come up with some new ideas there. So those are probably right now the areas in the accommodation as well. So accommodation is accommodation, food and beverage, and adventure tourism. Probably in the order of adventure tourism, number one, accommodation and food and beverage are probably tied for their growth.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I
No
think it
problem.
was just so
I think we got a lot of information.
Yeah,
For sure.
To
definitely.
cram into a 20-minute presentation.
And then if you go onto like the BCIT website,